Here at Super Mommy Knot, we are devoting a week-long series on reconnecting and really talking to your spouse or partner. Now, most of you know I have 2 young toddlers, but unfortunately, I have to admit my husband and I haven't really been focusing on our relationship, instead focusing on our kids. But according to experts, we're not alone. So I'd like to introduce you to Rhona Berens, a PhD, a parent advocate, and a certified individual and relationship coach. Today, we'll focus on reconnecting with the person you fell in love with.
Research shows that on average, couples, once they have their first child, lose about 2/3 of the alone time that they had before. So you have about one third of the alone time that you had before you had your first child. And guess what? Now part of that alone time is being devoted to talking about the kid. So it even erodes that time further. And then add in, you're exhausted. You're totally fried after, taking care of the kid, after if one works outside the home, dealing with that kind of stuff. I mean, all of it is exhausting. So there's really little time to be alone with each other, to talk to each other. Add more kids to the mix, and that alone time and that energy gets eroded further. So it's immensely typical. Like, that is exactly what happens to couples. The problem is, well, there are a few problems, right? The problem is, talking to each other as part of a couple is what helps keep us connected. It's what helps enhance intimacy. It's often what helps inspire certain kinds of intimacy between us. The other problem is we're the ones who are modeling relationships for our kids. And if we can't find the time to talk to each other, then that's what we're modeling for our kids about relationships. And there's a lot of research that shows the stronger the couple relationship is, the healthier it is developmentally for our kids. In our culture, we spend a lot of time on parenting. There are a ton of books on parenting, how to do it right. And then there are as many other books saying that those that said this is the way to do it right say, no, that's not the right way to do it right. This is a whole other, right? So there are as many theories of what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing as there are probably almost kids, But there's so much information and so much, I think, pressure for our generation of parents to really focus on the parenting and make sure we're as devoted to our kids as possible and that we pay attention to how we are parenting them as much as possible. And part of what gets lost in that mix is our relationships. Our relationships tend to become, I don't think any of us would consciously admit it this way, but there's some way in which our relationship connection with our spouses ends up being a little disposable, or we put it on hold and we think, well, when they get older, we'll reconnect. Something like 25% of divorces occur among parents occur before the kids are 5 years old. So if that's true, then we can't really defer it. It's kind of dangerous to defer it because the risk of that negative impact on our relationships is quite huge. I think when we realize, wow, haven't talked in a long time, wow, I'm feeling disconnected, or I want to feel more connected. Maybe it's not we feel disconnected, but I miss some of the energy between us. I miss some of the ways in which we used to talk to each other, some of the things we did together. And it's like, but we don't have time. We don't have time. And so what ends up happening is we imagine what we want. It starts to sometimes feel daunting because we think I have to put 100% energy into getting reconnected, and then who's got 100% time or energy now? And we don't do anything. Or we start to try and plan something big to reconnect, and we get lost in the planning. It doesn't make a huge difference. If we do it, it doesn't then make a huge difference in our connection, and we're disappointed. So here's my approach, which is, I call it the 10% rule. Take what you would do 100%, what your greatest wish is, and cut it down to 10%. If 10% still feels like a huge thing, make it 5%, 1%. And try and just do the little things. Try and create, if what you really want is an hour of solid, good quality conversation, so 60 minutes, try 6 minutes. Try 6 minutes. Set the timer for your kids for 6 minutes. Because what you'll find is if you do the 10% effort, you'll actually do it and you'll succeed. And the 10% effort most times will actually create a little bit of connection. And you start to put lots of 10% efforts together, and you've actually managed to enhance connection, enhance time together, enhance the sort of that connective energy between the connective tissue. It's almost like palpable stuff, right? that we lose that, what used to be this palpable connection with our spouse, because so much of that kind of energy is going into our kids, because so much of our action is focused on our kids, that it's like, how do we get a little bit of that, that back?